I'm Kim Krause from the Scriber Media Center, and today I'm out at Pays Plat First Nations just outside of Scriber, where I'm going to be talking to people about Canada Day and their feelings on whether we should or should not be celebrating it, and also how we can address some of the inequalities of the past and maybe change things up a little bit where people start to become more inclusive in our society and our celebrations.
Well, I say do what you want, but don't force other people into your culture, because other people have their own cultures and that.
But we have to respect other cultures.
Yes. There's a fine line between that two.
I have mixed feelings about today, being a First Nations myself. I'm still very proud to be Canadian, but it is part of our history that we cannot forget. And
I can't say that I'm a proud Canadian right now, which I would have said in the past.
Personally, Canada Day means the same for me this year than it has for the last 20 or so, maybe 40 years. I live with a residential school survivor, so this recent revelation is not a surprise for me. They've been talking about this for a long time, and for my part, I just assumed everyone knew already. It's just something that most of us have been living with for most of our lives. So my feelings about Canada Day are the same as they were last year, or the year before, or 5 years, or 10 years ago. If you want to be proud of Canada, that's up to you. And there's definitely things about this country we should be proud about. There's a lot of First Nations people that have fought in the wars, the First World War, the Second World War, Korean War, Vietnam. There's a lot of reasons for that, and most people don't know. The primary reason they did that is because of the treaty system, which began with a military agreement hundreds of years ago. And a lot of First Nations feel an obligation to that, and you cannot separate Canada from First Nations people. That's just how it is. And if you don't want to celebrate Canada Day, personally, I don't think it's any different than last year or the year before. These things have been going on for a long time. It's just now it's public. I guess it's common knowledge. So for me, the focus should be on how we move forward with the survivors, the residential school survivors. There's plenty of them out there, lots. They're in your communities if you're a First Nations person, whether you know it or not. Anybody who's been in that system or anything similar to that system that they've been finding these bodies in, they've somehow managed to survive, and they've come out the other side. They've got a lot of stories to tell and a lot of things to share that we should be privy to. And for me, that's my focus. I've been just spending time with the survivor in my family, and that's basically how I feel about it.
Well, I think today, with all the news and the media that's coming out about the bunch of bodies found on residential schools, the churches and the government should start their reconciliation process with First Nation people, Today it's a hard day and a sorrow day for us to hear about those babies and those children in the ground that have been discovered. There's going to be many more, so I think we should try to find some form of reconciliation, work together, maybe provide more counseling funding dollars for our residential school victim people and intergenerational trauma people, because I'm one of those intergenerational trauma people in this world, and we need funding to go to counseling, have more counseling supports, that would help us, it would help us to grow, and we can all work together, because we all got to live here. We got to live with the settlers and the immigrants, because we all got to try to share and work and be reconciliation and talk with each other and understand. We all got to change. Everyone's got to change today. So I think we should try to work towards change.
Today is Canada Day, and we're traveling through Pays Plat, and I was asked what my feelings were about the residential school victims. Every time this comes up, and it's been a topic that's been coming up a lot, some people have said, well, the First Nations knew about it all the time, just weren't being heard. It's a very, very heartbreaking realization at my age when I was going to school with residential children. So, a shock. And hopefully there is some reconciliation and some forgiveness. And yes, if it reconciliates Canada into what it's supposed to be, a multicultural society, then yes, changes have to come. It's time.
I think that there could be another day of, I don't want to say celebration, but at least recognition towards Indigenous people of Canada, and recognizing the cultural genocide that has been done against us.
So my parents never pushed church on us at all, because they held in their own religion, their own culture, the Longhouse culture, Longhouse Christians. So that it was never pushed on us for church. But and I find that there's a what do you call it, a struggle there between the traditional First Nations people and the church First Nations people, because we should have been they should have been respectful to let the people practice their own religion, culture, traditions, because now it's coming back. They're coming back. A lot of people more taking the traditional side, but I still see friends of mine where I used to live going to church, and they're baptizing their kids, first communion, all that stuff. And I think I never did that to my kids.
I have very mixed feelings towards Canada Day. I always have. Even when I was young in high school, I felt weird about celebrating Canada Day because just my family, I can see how much like intergenerational trauma there is. And I remember being in high school and I was flipping through the entire Canadian history textbook, and I only found a paragraph this big about residential schools. And then so it was never really a thing that was talked about. And even just some of my like non-Indigenous friends, like sometimes I'm the first Indigenous person that they've met, and I talk to them about residential schools, and a lot of them say, well, we actually never knew anything about residential schools. That's the first time I've ever heard about it. So, I mean, now, so with everything that's being uncovered and discovered, you know, like there's a lot of shame in Canada, and you know, like the government and you know the churches, like they should feel shame because it was a very like deliberate evil thing that they did in order to get industry onto our land, and for us to, you know, they have to displace us and they have to disrupt us in order for them to just take. So I think, you know, I'm happy that there are some people who are saying like no to Canada Day.